Thanks for that introduction there, Brent. Just a quick video to show you guys kind of what we're talking about. Go ahead and hit the slide bar or space bar. So as you can see the Huey coming in for a landing just over the runway. And just kind of watch the timeline here, because it's going to happen very, very quickly.
Whoa, my God.
Full loss of control. Bad day. So go ahead and pause it right there. And then put me in the slideshow.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. So you got to exit there and go back to the slideshow. Right over there.
With full screen?
Yeah, yes. If you hit from the beginning on the top. There we go. Alright guys, that's a picture of my former self. I did about 12 years for Ernst County Fire Rescue as a firefighter, EMT also, and privileged to serve the community. And so helicopter wake turbulence, right? What are we talking about here? Has anybody heard that term before? Yeah?
Rotor wash.
Good deal. So go ahead and next slide. I think if you do the little right arrow thing, that'll work better. There you go. So exits, as we know, right through there. We have our restrooms right out there. Don't mind my little projections. It was a stock slideshow. Emergency evacuation, obviously we have an emergency. Somebody will grab the
And you're a former firefighter, so you can save us.
right. I can dial 911 really good for you. That's pretty much what I can do. No breaks on this one. And then please, obviously, remember to silence your cell phones. And next slide, please. I'd like to thank the Orlando, Sanford, and Nashville Airport for giving us this room today. And the Sanford Vaccine, especially Brett, that puts these on every Monday, every month. So kind of appreciation on that. And being that you guys know a little bit about me, I like to kind of go around the room just really quickly, who you are and where you are in your aviation journey.
Victor, I'm at the Southeast Ramp. I'm where I want to be. I got my instrument. I've been flying since 1977. Still alive. And that's it. I'm just happy flying. I fly for pleasure. On trips.
Awesome. You, sir?
I'm Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave. I've been flying since 1965, September of this coming year.
Wow.
And I was an airline pilot, retired. I have 2 airplanes now at the Southeast Ramp. A&P, CFI, helicopter instructor,
Okay.
all that sort of thing.
Oh wow. So
Double
you should be up here teaching this. Come on now. What 2 airplanes do you own?
I have a Piper Twin Comanche,
Uh-huh.
and then I have an Aerostar 600.
Oh wow, those are nice.
2 killers.
Only
And
if
he
you
just
fly.
passed his red for his IA.
Me and Jack.
And he just passed his red for his IA.
There you go.
Congrats, Dave.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
So.
Good
So
deal.
we gonna hit him for our annuals.
Mr. Strandquist.
Yeah, I'm down in Merritt Island, CFII on helicopter, and fixed wing pilot as well. And I
I
have.
don't think we could hear you. I mean, we're old people.
Don't speak loudly. So yes, I'm down in Merritt, CFII on helicopter, multi-engine instructor on the fixed wing, holding the EASA license, the UK license, and the FAA license. So I'm flying around in different places.
You, sir?
Jeff, I'm at the Southeast Ramp, RV7, private pilot.
Wonderful. John Tenney.
All the cool people are at the Southeast.
Right?
That's what I hear. I'm John. Hi, John.
Hi,
John.
John.
This is,
John
I
who?
had one day without flying.
I'm a student pilot. I am always learning to fly every day. And it's just taken me 9,100 hours to get here.
Did you
He's
solo
also-
yet?
He's
You're not talking
also,
about the Mile High Club, right?
No.
No.
There's ladies in
he's also CFI of the year twice.
Yep, there you go.
They had to fizz
That-
out.
That's
He
good.
doesn't need to bring his coin with him everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have that on a necklace?
This is, I have it on.
It gets into all the greatest clubs downtown.
Yeah,
Look at
they're
me,
so
I get a coin.
cool to have these.
Well, I do too.
If I'm asking, work hard for these. I'm gonna go. Drinks.
All right.
There you go. Alfonso?
My name's Alfonso. I'm not in the southeast ramp. I'm actually uptown.
Boo, he's
Right
poor,
in
he's
Newtown.
poor.
I have a little cigar bar, so I'm on the southwest ramp where all the rocker kids hang out late night with grunge airplanes.
Do you ride the Beacon?
Yeah, we get down to like techno over there. But
Were you the guy riding on the Beacon the other night?
no, that wasn't me.
Evil twin.
I like to fly for fun and tinker on my airplane, make sure it's good for my daughter to fly, and make sure kids get to enjoy flying. That's what I like to do.
Awesome. Daniel?
So I'm Daniel. I'm
Hi,
a
Daniel.
I'm a CFI, Single Engine Land, and I am a civilian patrol pilot as well, the orientation pilot. Everything done over down at Kissimmee. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like you ought to know that. And I started flying in 2008. I have a fixed wing private, and I'm about 500 hours in the Magni M24 gyrocopter.
There you go. We need to talk.
We skipped two in the back.
Let's skip you.
Three.
Okay,
Go ahead, then we work our way back up here.
okay, I'm Dave McIntyre.
Hi, Dave.
I almost forgot about the title on here. Schnurr didn't tell me anything about that, but I flew helicopters in the Army in the 70s. And while I was at Fort Bragg, I learned to fly in fixed wing airplanes. We bought an airplane together with another guy, and she flew in an airplane a number of times, even before we were married. Smart.
Still married?
Smart.
Yeah, you must
Yes.
have gone with
Anyway, we had a fun time flying down here in Orlando for a number of years, and just almost done with flying, but we'll see. Thank you for allowing me to say that.
My name is Edwin. I became a private pilot 2 years ago.
Okay.
Welcome. You still have money?
Yeah.
Not for long.
And I used to fly out of Africa, but I haven't been there in about 6 months.
Okay. So you're looking for a new place?
Yeah, probably going to Orlando second.
Okay. There's also the club here too, so.
Couple of them.
Yeah.
There's a couple options here.
Yeah. So, you sir, come back around. Who you are, where you are here.
Callaway, CFI, MBI, double I fly the Orlando Sanford Flying Club, just looking to build time.
Okay, awesome, wonderful, so.
Wait a minute, forgot me.
Forgot me.
Oh,
I
see, you messed up my rotation.
I didn't think, cause they got that, I felt bad they got skipped.
Yeah.
Richard.
I was gonna go, but.
I'm Richard, I fly with the Southeast Ramp.
Hi, Rich.
Nice to be here. I do have a problem. I got a 58 Baron over there and a commercial single multi, and I picked a hell of a bird to build time in.
Is that a manual?
Huh? It is now.
Good deal. Alrighty, so moving on up to our next slide here. So when you hear this term helicopter wake turbulence, what we're trying to do, and I would love to take all credit and say, hey, this is my gig, but actually this is Ned Parks' presentation. He actually did, he was featured in the Florida Aviation Network about a year ago. He went to Sun and Fun. And he's been preaching this whole helicopter wake turbulence, which, as you can see from that first video, is pretty important. But what we're trying to do is merge these two terms, that rotor downwash, which a lot of people are familiar with, right? If you're near a helicopter, you just feel that downwash, all those vortices is kind of throwing at you. It's blowing everything every which way. And a lot of people just really don't care for it. And, you know, with good reason, in the sense that it could cause some issues and could cause some potential damage. But also, as you saw in the video, some loss of control issues. And then the next one, the rotor wake vortices, right? So, not trying to give you a whole aerodynamics course, but ETL, which stands for, anybody know on my CFIs over here?
I know, yeah.
Okay, go.
Effective translational lift.
There you go.
Effective
Call it.
what?
Huh?
Effective what?
Translational lift. So basically, when the rotor gets into that clean air and then just starts to fly just normally as anything that flies does. But those are the two terms that encompass this helicopter wake turbulence. So go ahead, next slide for me, Brett. So what we're going to cover here is this accident that happened a few years ago. Actually, Ned witnessed the accident, and so as the story has it, they were having a cookout. You can see the medevac helo is here. Just can't really tell, but he's already made it to the taxiway. And then we have a Rance S20 that has lost full control, has gone 90 degrees. A couple seconds later, it stalled out, crashed, burned, pilot was instantly killed. So, so it's no joke, guys. You know, operating around helicopters, it's, you know, you got to keep in mind, so to be very careful. So go ahead and go next slide. So to kind of paint the picture here, so the S-76 that's based at this airfield in Ohio is coming in. You can see it goes, makes a right base. Now the pilot of the S-20 and the medevac pilot were talking, they were coordinating, and pretty much what this guy was telling him was like, hey, if you don't mind, clear the runway because I want to immediately take off after you're cleared. And of course the S-76 pilot obliged, and so exactly 25 seconds after the aircraft was already in the taxiway, the S-20, which is an experimental build, initiated its takeoff roll, and it took 25 seconds for him to completely lose control and get himself unalive. So.
A friend of mine witnessed that. He was there.
He was there?
Yep.
Wow, incredible. Yeah, I mean, it's very
He may
sobering.
have taken that picture too, because he had his camera out and he was gonna take a picture of the guy taking off.
Right.
That's a non-towered.
Yeah, non-tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead and go next slide for me. Anybody know what this is
Yeah.
on my helicopter?
Magnum.
Magnum PI, right? So the Hughes 500 or the MD 500, and right next to the Ferrari, because I don't know if anybody's ever flown one. This is really what they call the Ferrari of the helicopter world. Like about the funnest aircraft you could ever fly. So go ahead and go next slide, and I'll show you exactly why we're talking about this. So up top we have weights, and on the bottom we have rotor diameters, right? So 27 feet, right? And we have 3,550, which, yeah, relatively not the heaviest thing you'd ever see. But when you're considering this, the idea is to keep at least 3 rotor diameter away from these aircraft. Same thing with the Black Hawk, 22,000 pounds. Lots heavier, but we see these around. The Army has them, the Coast Guard has them, the Navy has them. So these are helicopters that you can see daily. The EC-130 or the H-130 is used for tours and it's also used for medevac. And the 145 is used for medevac, and also some police missions. So, like I said, you'll see these aircraft around very, very often. So, go ahead and go next slide for me, Brent. All right, and give you a little bit more. That S-76 made by Sikorsky. So rotor diameter 48 feet. So when it comes to the distance you want to stay away from this guy is at least 150 feet. Let's just go ahead and round up, right? The Bell 206, about 100 feet. And a little tiny I-22 that I instruct in, still 75 feet at least, you know, and that's about, you know, as far as certified aircraft, the smallest. So we've gone from big to small there, and then just the visual representation of what those vortices, the rotor downwash would look like. Go ahead and go next slide for me. All right, so the idea here in this airport, right? What they're saying, this airport was built in the 60s. And in the 60s, I guess the criteria was from center line of runway to center line of taxiway, there was 135 feet of space. Some places it's more, some places less. Obviously now, with airplanes getting bigger, you're gonna see a lot more displacement on that, but that's just what it is. It was built to 1960 specification, and that's the distance. And you're gonna see why that's important here in a minute. Go ahead and go next slide. So, where do you think we are here? Any guesses?
150 feet.
So, no, the location.
Oh, that Sanford, that's, L3 or.
Isn't that Millionaire?
Pretty much, right? Me and my rich student.
Communist there.
Yeah, well,
Where the
what-
poor people hang out.
What L3 used to be, or Akron, or whatever they decided to call themselves this
They're
week.
acronym.
Yeah, so, so my rich student and I, he's got a koala, you know, he's a poor guy. He's got a AW119 koala made by the Leonardo helicopter company, and we're allowed to lighten runway 9C, and we're coming off the taxiway here. Now, all these planes are sitting right there. Now, what are we doing with this rotor downwash? If there's any debris, any dirt, what have you, we're paint stripping these, you know, aircraft just sitting there. So who do you think is gonna get?
The Buckies.
Huh?
We're cleaning the Buckies.
The Apex now.
Oh, Apex.
Yeah, so.
New drinking game.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm telling you, every, you know, yeah, drink one, every time they change their name, drink one. So, pretty much, but the distance right here is 83 feet.
Oh, yeah.
So from this center line to where these aircraft are. So you wanna be kinda careful, kinda think, you know, the people that are flying these machines wanna kinda like, let's go ahead and stay away from, everybody else's aircraft, because I'm sure nobody wants any cracked windshields or paint ruin and things like that. So go ahead and go next slide. And then just a visual representation of what we've been talking about. Just that cone. Yep.
Is that only when they're hovering?
It's hovering will cost the most wake, but also forward flight costs. And I have a visual representation that we're gonna show here in a minute to give you an idea. Actually, go ahead and go back to the video.
That's avoid the upper
Yeah,
part?
you wanna avoid that whole circumference between a helicopter. Even though they might look like the tiniest thing, you might be like, oh, it's okay. It's
You're
just
saying above and below?
mainly below, because the vortices are coming. Yeah, it's pulling them now. So, yes, sir.
How many minutes does it take for the air to calm down
We're-
after they're out of the air?
We're gonna get right to that. There's a beautiful illustration that talks about that. But go ahead, go back to that video real quick, and we'll go ahead and show that video, just to give you guys kind of like, you have to exit the
Is all tab.
There you go.
See video?
Yeah, just go ahead and you play.
And that crop dusting helicopter was a good.
So there's the Black Hawk, right?
Yeah.
Here's the Pilatus, almost lost it.
Whoa.
And then this is what we were talking about. It's too bad we don't have the sound going, but the idea with it, maybe.
You turn on the wrong TV.
Let's see.
Make sure the computer volume is on.
Here we go.
Maybe.
Create the
Oh, there you go, yeah.
Go ahead and go back a little bit so they can hear her a little bit.
In the rotor area. This is called downwash.
Right there,
At
it's
the
fine.
blade tip.
Scary day, huh?
H135 is a 4-blade twin-engine helicopter with a maximum takeoff weight of about 3 tons. The following phenomena presented in this video apply to all helicopters and are amplified with its mass. The difference in pressure between the upper and the lower sides of the blade creates the required lift for flight and pushes the air down in the rotor area. This is called downwash. At the blade tip, the difference in pressure also generates what is called tip vortices. The vortices of each blade interfere with the following blade, and as the helicopter flies forward, the vortices assemble to wakes. In hover, the effects of the downwash are globally located in a disk of around 3 times the rotor diameter. Pilots are familiar with the downwash, as it can be a risk at low height for the helicopter and people on ground. When the helicopter is in forward flight, the rotor plane works as an airplane wing. At the left and right borders of the downwash, a large pair of vortices forms, similar to airplane wake turbulence. Also, strong vortices generate additional small-scale turbulence within the whole wake system. The descending wake turbulence system is sustained for up to several minutes after being generated, which can mean hundreds of meters behind the helicopter. Just after its generation, the wake turbulence is strong, and it reduces slowly by dissipation over time. As the wind shifts the wake turbulence away from its original position, the wake turbulence can affect both the air in the helicopter's flight path and in large areas around it.
So that's the idea.
Helicopter parameters influence the danger of the wake turbulence. In general, the greater the helicopter's mass, the greater the strength of its wake turbulence. Surprisingly, a helicopter generates a wake of higher strength with a slow forward speed. In slow flight or hover, the rotor power is applied to a smaller air volume, so velocity changes behind the helicopter's flight path are higher, increasing the danger of the wake.
There you go. So good. Let's go back to the slide. So that's the idea there. Just imagine that all those vortices are spitting
Florida
out.
homeowners, did you know that right now you can get a brand new AC unit for your home
Right.
at no cost? That's right. Florida just approved a new
coming up
program
on
that is
YouTube,
helping
so
homeowners get new
leave us
AC
fire
systems,
systems.
new roofs, new
Yeah, go
windows,
back to
and even
here.
solar panels this
Yeah,
year
and just-
for
yeah,
no
just
upfront
pause it.
cost.
Yeah. And then go back to the presentation.
I wanted to get a free AC.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Alright, so go next slide. So somebody way smarter than me put this together. It pretty much talks about the rotor circumference, the distance, and how far you need to be. Now here's the key point that I want you to take away. I think most of y'all watch news, right? You watch Tom Terry when he puts his, takes his jacket off and rolls up his sleeves. So if I was to tell you that there was a storm that was gonna come and spit out 53 knot winds, most of y'all would be wanting to secure your aircraft, hangar it, tie it down at least. But then you might see a helicopter in the ramp and not think 2 things about it, because it's, yeah, there goes a helicopter. So just keep that in mind when a helicopter is like heading your direction, because that's the kind of winds that we could be talking about, that are generated. So go ahead and go.
I'm actually surprised it's that low.
Could be higher. Could be higher. So.
Bigger, heavier.
And then this is a more just the same thing, but in a visual representation there. Now, interesting thing, CH-47, right, 41,000 pounds. That's really when ATC starts talking about heavy when it comes to helicopters. However, that EC-135 or the H-135 we just showed, the vortices that is generated is comparable to the vortices that 737 would put up. So just keep that in mind. Anytime you see one of these medical helicopters just kind of roaming around and doing a mission, picking up somebody from on scene or taking them to a hospital, that's what's being generated. Now, normally they're hanging around 500, 700 feet, you know, very short hops. But if you do happen to interact with it at an airport or something like that, keep in mind that weight that it could generate. So go ahead now.
Was there a question?
Yeah, is it, so then it's better to fly over a helicopter?
Yeah, definitely stay away from the path.
Yeah, but if you have to cross paths with them, fly above them.
Yeah, definitely fly above their way. Just totally stay out of their way is the best rule. Go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so same thing, signs, they're everywhere. You'll see these in hospitals a lot, and people, like I said, they just kind of take it for granted. Oh yeah, the helicopter sign, it's hardly ever there, but then when it comes over, people just kind of forget. There was actually, when I was researching this, obviously Ned provided a lot of the information, but I made my own slides for this. There was a grandmother, I believe somewhere overseas, and she was near one of these areas that puts out all these wind, and she got caught up by the vortices and fell and broke her hip, and I think I'm not sure if she passed away due to the injuries, but you know, got hurt pretty bad. And so, you know, keep that in mind when it comes to when helicopters operate in the area.
Keep your umbrella folded.
Right. You might go for a flight.
Well, oddly enough, back when I was still working for this company, I was over at Speedway, Daytona Speedway, doing the remodel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the tallest crane out there one time. I had 370 foot of stick.
Wow.
And had my own NOTAM and everything for Daytona and everything. I actually got buzzed by CareFlight coming into in-flight center or infield center one day. I felt the water wash in my boom, and my boom weighs about 60,000 pounds.
Wow.
And it moved me.
Wow.
It rocked me. I could feel it.
See?
And
wow.
And even these Robinson, idiots down there in iDrive,
yeah.
I keep trying to swap them out of the sky because I'm going to have to talk with the chief pilot because this is bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, that's when they're buzzing me, you know, and I'm only up 130, and between 130 and 185 feet, you know,
right.
just depending on what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to be that freaking low.
Yeah.
You know, if I can feel the rotor wash going down, you know, they need to one side or the other, but apparently, what was it, 91, 114, I think it is, about the 1,000-foot separation.
Mm-hmm.
Not pertain to them one bit.
No, it doesn't, but courtesy would be, and obviously if you do go have that talk with the chief pilot and be like, hey, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, because until I was doing research on, I mean, I had an inkling of it, but yeah, I didn't even think about a crane. It's just something that you wouldn't think about, but yeah, if they knew what they were costing you, they probably wouldn't fly near you. They just
I actually made one change course one day because I started swinging around. I'm not looking up for them. I could care less what's up there.
Yeah.
But I swung around and seen him take evasive action, turn off, and I think I was only like 186 foot high at that time. So, you know, if he's changing course when I'm swinging around, I don't know how low he was.
Yeah.
You know, I know he was above me, but it was enough to make him change course. And
yeah.
You know, it said I can be professional, but dude, give some slack.
Yeah.
And because I'm under 200 feet, I'm not required to run a light. I'm not required to run a flag because I'm outside of anybody's airspace. I'm below the Bravo, well below the Bravo.
Right.
So, you know, if I put a flag up there, it's only out of courtesy.
Yeah.
And, you know, so, you know, just, but yeah, I just thought y'all would kind of that 888 I had at the Speedway, I felt the rotor wash when that care flight came in.
Wow.
You know, it kinda did one of these numbers with the boom.
Yeah, wow, interesting. Go ahead, go, next slide. So what are we so we come in, we're flying along, I've flown with Morton before, you know, come in, oh yeah, go ahead and taxi the fuel pumps. Like, honestly, if they have a fuel truck that they can come and fuel us up, way easier. We don't wanna be disturbing the flow and messing up people's aircraft. So, you know, we're used to be shunned, so let's keep us away from everybody, fuel us up, give us the same price as self-serve, and we're good. Go ahead and go next slide. So what does the FAA says? I'm not gonna read this all to you, but this is pretty much what's on the aircraft weight turbulence, our varsity circular out there. Talks about the same things, road downwash, while taxiing. Obviously, keep in mind, as soon as we pull pitch, we're in full flight. So even hover taxi, air taxi, we're already in full flight. So unless it's, you know, the Black Hawk that's taxiing on the ground. So go ahead, next. Should stay away, helicopter vortices, forward flight, and slow, strong weight, same part of the same AC. Go ahead and go next. And then here, same outline theme. Three times the rotor diameter, and forward flight, departing, landing helicopters, strong wind, high trailing vortices. So go next. All right, what are we talking about? So, next one. So way back when in 1996, a study was done. And this, you know, this is one of the things that Ned looked up and was able to find this study. And go next. So they used the Beechcraft T-34 and Decathlon to do this study. And they found some very interesting stuff. When it came to, I believe it was the Decathlon that they flew perpendicular to the helicopter below, they said that the pilot did it one time. The wings began to flex, almost like it, you know, the aircraft was gonna come apart. And he's like, yeah, enough of that, I'm not doing that again.
Wow.
So, yeah, very, very, very strong wind. Go next. So the findings, within half a mile of a helicopter, if you're trailing a helicopter, it will result in a loss of control. Same, what I just mentioned, that big calf on, the wings just started flapping, like it, only one time. It only took them one time to figure, yeah, no, I'm good. Obviously, your advancing blade is creating more, but it's, yes, sir.
Wouldn't the situation be better if the helicopter came into the airport 9 degrees from the fixed wing traffic?
We try per the regulations, we try to enter opposite flow of traffic. That's why you see us, a lot of people don't understand why we're always on the right. That's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to stay as far away as we can from the fixed wing. Now, you go to certain places, I know there's private fields that just say, no, everybody goes the same way.
Left-hand pattern.
Yeah, don't care what you are, everybody goes the same way. And that's kind of like we can run into an issue.
The aviation circular for the latest one, the C version for non-towered airports from the FAA, they want helicopters to fly a right-hand pattern if the fixed wings are flying left-hand pattern.
Yeah.
Gyrocopters normally fly left-hand pattern.
Yeah, almost like an airplane, right?
Yeah, because we fly by auto rotation, so there's no downward vortices like you get.
Right. All right, go ahead and go next slide. All right, vortex separation, increasing in descending flight and decreasing climbing. Obviously, this is very common sense. The larger the blades, the more wind it's going to kick up. Next. So 3, right? There's that number, 3, and they say 2. Me being conservative, I keep it all 3, 3, 3. So within 3 minutes of you hearing that a helicopter has landed, you probably want to have that space, at least 3 minutes of separation, so you don't run into these wake. And go ahead and go next there. What I want to share tonight, helicopter, when you think about it, it's a man-made moving microburst. That's what it boils down to. This whole thing kind of came about. Ned did this presentation with Bruce Webb. There's a podcast out there called Push the Top, and it really got my attention because I was like, wow, like, yeah, it's true. It has all the characteristics of a microburst. So that's what we are. At least stay 3 rotor diameters away from the helicopter. Helicopters in forward flight create violent wake, treat them as heavy aircraft. Like I said, that H-135, almost comparable to a 737. So just remember that. They say 3-3-2 rule. I say just remember 3-3-3 rule. You won't forget it that way. Go ahead and go next. And there's my information details, my email, my LinkedIn. Credit to Mr. Ned Parks for allowing me to present this for him. And a good representation, actually take your phone, go ahead and take a picture of that one. It's a good reminder of what you should do. If you don't take anything away, just say, oh, 332 or 333, what have you. So, and does anybody have any questions for me?
Now, do you find controllers kind of work with y'all and try to keep it at 332 or longer?
They try, and actually, let me show you this. There's one more video on that. They try, but they, controllers, most of them, if they've flown anything, it's probably going to be an airplane.
Right.
So they don't know what they don't know. But what they're trying to do eventually, if this does come about, that is lobbying, so that whole caution helicopter wake turf, that's gonna be a normal call out.
Okay.
So you guys sitting here in this room, if it ever does come to fruition, be like, hey, I was in that first class that they were just talking about this, and it's kind of neat.
Well, the reason why I asked that is years ago when Mom was still around, her and I were out flying around, and we went and did an approach at exec.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm almost 100% positive that a helicopter was in front of me,
right,
a little ways on 7.
Okay.
And I'm over the runway transitioning into the flare, and all of a sudden I just get blown up in all kinds of different ways. No other, turbulence, no other, it was a fairly smooth day, and I'm thinking I got caught behind, a helicopter, and that was. He was a few minutes ahead of me, but that was maybe the remnants of it. My mind, what'd you do? I didn't know nothing, It's like I'm sitting there flying it down the runway, and next thing I know, we're getting blown 9 different ways. And,
yeah, it's very shocking to see it. So I'll leave you with this. You have a question?
Yeah, so don't forget that helicopters, they can also go precision takeoff. So they can go from the FBO.
Right.
So even though we're leaving, our wake can still be there, a couple of minutes later.
Right.
So when you're coming out taxiing towards the FBO, even if it's small 150, that might be a problem if you fly something bigger, but
right.
Just think about they will stay there, the wake will stay there.
Yeah, as I said, I was coming out of 7 into transition, and all of a sudden all hell broke loose, and it's like, okay, thanks.
Yeah. Can be a little
and don't
crazy.
forget that the wake also travels with the wind.
Just kind of rolls.
Good point.
They come in out here a lot to the sheriff, like they'll cross right over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of them, they probably don't like I said, you don't know what you don't know. They're probably just flying around and they're just like la-di-da, and you got how many flight school activities that you have, and when they're flying around, I mean, it would behoove the students to, and I was trying to get Nick from Akron to come over, but I think they're studying for check ride. But yeah, I was trying to have some, because they're the ones that need to hear this out, like, hey, you guys are training here, be aware, but also the private pilot out there.
Yeah,
But,
especially when the sheriff's doing, water drop.
Yeah.
Practicing over in the southeast ramp, you know.
yeah,
If you go back into the fifties, hydrogen peroxide powered helicopter,
oh,
19-foot wingspan.
Yeah, I haven't seen that forever.
And there's some good videos, it was about a 5-minute video, you can
Yeah.
actually see all the downwash and everything, I got here on my YouTube.
yeah, cool.
It's a YouTube video.
Yeah, so I wanted to show you, speaking of YouTube, I wanted to show you Jeffrey there. There was, the one video here, he kinda talks about it real quick, so I'll leave you with this one.
For the coladas that he showed, that, I want that video because, and talking to everybody, that happened the day before my accident. So that's right after Hurricane Maria, basically 1 week after. And we were on a 182A landing at that same airport. And we ended up crashing, Cessna 182 from 2 Blackhawks. We were number 2 behind 2 Blackhawks flying in tandem doing the same thing that they did. But because at that airport, the Blackhawk base is at the end of the runway. So when we came in, our plane it pushed down, and we were like 2 miles in trail. And the controller was like, you're clear to land. And it pushes down at the threshold, and we recovered, and then about 300 feet down, it finally pushed us to the left, and the left wing was about a foot off the ground, and he recovered again. My pilot friend, he died in the accident, and when we did that, we said the full go around, we're gonna turn to the right. Everybody knows this around the airport, the pattern is a left-hand pattern, and we turned to the right because the blast came from the right, and as we turned to the right, the plane literally went up directly 100, straight up, and we were only about 60 knots, so you know what's gonna happen.
Yep.
She's gonna stall, roll up, and inverted crash. He ended up dying 10 hours later from head trauma because we hit my whole left side here. I broke my wrist, my arm, I have an artificial hip right now, I have a rod in my leg. 9 surgeries later, this is what I am now. But he lost his whole right side of his face because he hit the panel. The only reason I'm here today because I survived is because when we took off, he was like, okay, you want to fly? I'm like, no, this is a new plane. He always lets me fly. It was a good friend of mine who also trained me to fly, helped me to learn. But I was kind of upset. And whenever I'm upset, I don't fly because I was working earlier. And I pushed my passenger seat all the way back to enjoy the ride. And because I was an extra foot from the panel is why I'm here talking to you today.
Wow.
Keep that in
Your
mind.
man
And
weighs at least 150.
he's definitely one of the lucky ones, when it came down, so 333, y'all.
Thank you.
Any questions?
None?
All right, perfect.
All right, phenomenal job.
Now, just because we give you room, don't get cocky about
Right.
taking up all the airspace.
Right.